What is up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Rich, as many of you may or may not know. And I'm just kind of showing you, giving you an introduction and an overview. This might be your very first 3D course. If so, cool. Welcome. The lectures are pre-recorded, but you always can just drop me a line over here in the Q&A section if you look down here. You just drop me a line there, and I typically get to everybody, because I do have a lot of students. I get to everybody in less than 5 days. I try to. Sometimes I miss a few, and it takes a little longer, but I will get to your question. Down here on the recorder, on the settings, if you want, you can speed up. Where is it at? You can speed up. You should be able to. Oh wait, here it is. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Right over here where it says 1x. If you want to speed that up in case I'm talking a little bit too slow, I just have a very large and international audience, so I like to speak a little bit slow, and I go step by step with things. I know that 3D is really difficult, and you might even be in 2 or 3 3D courses, or maybe you bought something from somewhere else. And there's all this, when people have the screencast keys, and the beginning course is probably a very good course. But I was noticing when I went through my learning of 3D, especially with Blender, because they do have the screencast or the screen key add-on where you can see what buttons they're pressing, that became confusing to me. That was like super confusing, and I started to get even more frustrated. So I don't do that. I will just call out the hotkeys when necessary, but you don't have to follow along with them. I also want to emphasize, before you get started, this is a very, very, very basic course. If you know the interface and you know how to move things around and you know some basics of sculpting, this is going to be too basic for you. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. With that said, no matter what question you want to ask relating to 3D, please ask. There is no such thing as a stupid question or a dumb question or that's silly, I don't want to get laughed at. No one's going to make fun of you within any space that I teach in. This is the introduction. You start out with the basics of basics. I start off with things like telling you what a polygon is and looking at some settings. We move into working with objects. That's called object mode. And then we work in some of the basics with editing mode and some really cool exercises that are easy to follow along. Then we move on to some super basic modeling. That's where you're going to learn how to make this little mock-up mannequin that you can just use for whatever you want, because you're going to be the one that's making it. The resources are over here. They are in zip files. I have different resources. Where it says resources, that's where you get the zip file. You download that. Now, for my peeps out there that are doing everything by phone, I don't know if you can download this either by phone or by the app. I don't know. Every app is different. Every phone is different. So you will, if you want to use any of the resources and the little models that I have for you guys, you're going to need to get to a laptop or a desktop or whatever to download it, more than likely. I know some of you might have an iPad and it might work, because I'm an iPad user too. So I was able to download certain things, but not everything, and try to download it from the website and not from the app. That's another big important thing. But also keep in mind that the things that you see me make, you're going to be actually making them. So you don't really need necessarily the models. You're not missing out on anything, right? We then move to the basics of UVs. I want you to understand what UVs are and what UV editing is, because it's important. I have a tiny little section here on some of my favorite modifiers. You don't know what that is yet, or you may not, and that's okay. And then I start to do some basic sculpting with what's called the move tool, and you move things around. It just builds off of the lessons that you learned early on with moving things. And you can do this with a mouse. I even have it marked there. Then we move on to using some of the sculpting brushes, which I urge you, please don't try with a mouse. This is a little bit of a an extra section, and trying to do this with a mouse is not something that your hand is just going to be on fire. Please don't try and do this. Your hand will more than likely cramp up. I know some of you out there are young and are like, whatever, old dude, I can go ahead and do this with a mouse. Okay, but I'm just saying from an experienced artist standpoint, you're not going to really get the results that you want. I'm sure there'll be an outlier out there that can, but you don't need to try. And when you do get a tablet, just come back and check out that section. Now, if there is anything within this course that you feel that I may have left out or skipped over or whatever, just drop me a line. You can put it in the Q&A section and just say, hey, Rich, can you explain this a little bit more? Can you explain that a little bit more? Because all of my courses, this is no exception, are very interactive. I do interact with you guys. So if there's something that you don't understand as it pertains to Blender, please let me know. And the other, I guess the other order of operations here is, just ask questions, take your time with this. You could probably complete this in less than a week or a weekend if you're feeling overly ambitious, but take your time with this. This is 3D can be a very difficult subject, and just a little bit of advice for when you go forward and you're done with this course. Take your time with whatever it is that you want to learn. 3D is so big. You may just want to being a generalist that's taking years and years, you may want to start out with just low poly modeling. You may just want to start out with sculpting. You may just want to do texturing, and all that is fine. But the one thing I will say is learn one thing, go into one thing at a time. I'm giving you a super basic overview to get some of that nervousness out of the way, to get some of that frustration out of the way that you've been feeling. Because I know I was feeling that stuff too, and it was getting annoying. It really was. So, and by the way, and if anything that I am saying that you don't understand, let me know. I'm not, I've been doing this long enough and have enough students to know that any kind of constructive, anything that you can say that will help me make this better will definitely help me make the course better. And again, been doing this long enough to know that this course gets better with your help. So yes, I would love every one of my students to give me a big old 5-star review, or do a lot of writing down the reviews and how great it was. And that's wonderful, but I know at the end of the day that this can't improve without your help. So if there's anything that you want to see and any ways that I can improve on this, please let me know. Thank you so much. Go ahead and get started. The thing about the basics of the basics, the next, the section 2, you don't really have to do anything. You could just kind of watch it a little bit so it kind of eases you into it, just to let you know. I would love to see you come back and at very least watch section 2. Udemy's going to ask you to rate the course or whatever. If you just want to put that to the side until you really get into the course and you figure out how this is working for you, then you can go ahead and just say not now, because they do ask you kind of right away. But yeah, I just thought I would want to give you this overview and thought I would give you a little words of encouragement. You can learn this. If I, when I learned how to work any sort of 3D, I was like 45 years old. So as I'm recording this, I'm about to turn 48. So if someone your dad's age, or someone your age, or someone's a little bit younger than you, because I know I got some older students out there, and that's cool. If I can learn it, you can definitely learn it. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking, and I'll just let you go ahead and watch the next video. Let's have some fun.